All of the major news stories made simple and easy for your listening pleasure. We'll break it down for you in keywords. And for the segment, we're joined by Adam in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Lena. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
Do you chew a lot when you eat? I'm just curious because I really don't.
I think it'd be funnier if you just stopped at, do you chew? Do you chew your food at all? You know, I'm not very conscious of every bite, I realize, and I guess we raise that question because I'm assuming most people aren't really aware of how many bites they're chewing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's subconsciously happening, but I eat really quickly, and it's a good point. I was just curious if everyone else is conscious about that.
There is like some estimation online, like 30 something bites or chews. I'm sorry for each bite, and I thought the idea is for you to break it down to the smallest possible particles before you swallow. Who does this? Nobody.
I guess the smaller the pieces, the easier it is to digest, and hence you won't gain that much weight, and it's all those good stuff.
Look, logic is helping us.
Yeah.
But we need a fresh reminder, and that's the point, I guess.
A bit of TMI. I watched an interview, I think it was Amanda Seyfried, and in Korea, and someone asked her how she managed to stay so slim, and she said she chews a lot. As her answer.
I think that's a go-to answer for a lot of people who are very aware of, maintaining a perfect or ideal body weight.
Something I might need to work on.
No comment. We're going to jump into our keyword news portion. We do, in the meantime, encourage our listeners to take part in discussion topic 2. Are you aware of how many times you chew your food? Let's talk about it with Albert on Question Unboxing in a moment. For the time being, it's time for keyword news, taking a look at some of the major headlines this morning. And here is our first pick of the day.
In the 2000s.
All right, we're going to start out with the COVID-19 situation at home. It has taken a turn for the worst with daily cases now in the 2000s, surpassing that psychologically important marker, it seems. So what is the latest, Adam?
Yeah, even over 1,000 we thought was a lot of cases, but it was something that health experts have been warning that we could see, and exactly 2,021 new infections were confirmed in the last 24 hours. That's almost a 50% increase from the previous day, and of course it is a new record high. 68.3% of the total were from the capital region, so that still leaves about more than 40% or about thereabouts from the rest of the region as well. Which
32%.
About 32%. We saw it at 40, but now it's shrunk slightly, but still. There are a lot of cases coming in non-capital regions as well, which is concerning. Infections, and infections were actually confirmed in all of the nation's 17 major cities and provinces as well. So this is certainly a nationwide resurgence, and small and big cluster infections continue to erupt amid the summer vacation season as well. Experts warn that the wave actually may continue to worsen for the time being, amid no signs yet of peaking. So they're seeing that we are far from the peak at the moment.
So the worst is yet to come. And I guess logically that makes sense because the inoculation plans are ready and people are making reservations, but that doesn't reflect a bigger portion of the population that are inoculated.
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of movement too.
It's yet to happen, that vaccination, widespread vaccination anyway. So of course, for the time being right now, there are a huge surge in cases. And in order, some of the measures that are being taken is that authorities are setting up 4 temporary screening centres at highway service stations from Friday until the end of this month to help people returning from holiday take tests easily.
Okay.
Amid this resurgence, there are a number of rallies scheduled for this weekend in Seoul, unfortunately. 38 groups have informed police of plans to hold 190 rallies in Seoul during the Liberation Day weekend. It is a 3-day weekend coming up. Mayor Oh Se-yeon has warned those who carry out with the rallies will be sued. The city government is in talks with the police to block people from gathering at rally venues. This could include cutting public transport around the demonstration sites as well, which would of course affect the regular people who use them.
Right. All right, we're going to stay with our COVID coverage. We'll take a look at the variant situation. Here is our second keyword of the day.
Delta threat.
So the Delta variant is posing a threat around the world, and a British health expert says, here's the concerning part, the variant could stop any hopes of herd immunity.
Yeah, very ominous comments there by the head of the Oxford Vaccine Group, Andrew Pollard, who said herd immunity is, quote, not a possibility with the current spread of the Delta variant due to it still infecting vaccinated individuals. We're still seeing a lot of vaccinated people being affected with Delta variant.
The breakthrough cases, right?
Right, so the breakthrough cases. It is more susceptible to the unvaccinated people, but still, breakthrough cases are happening. Pollard was actually involved in the development of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine as well, so he knows what he's talking about.
Sure.
He is a very credible source, and he told lawmakers in the UK that although 95% vaccination would stop transmission of measles, the same was not true for COVID, saying it is a bit of a different virus and there are more variants that are more transmissible that will come out. And he warned that this means anyone still unvaccinated at some point will meet the virus. And he said the vaccine might slow the spread of coronavirus, but as the Delta variant is highly transmissible, jabs will not contain it altogether. He also said that the next thing might be a variant which is even more transmissible and could affect vaccinated populations, like I just said. And he added that that's even more of a reason not to be making a vaccine program around herd immunity. Which is something Korea is kind of doing at the moment.
And that's sort of been a goal set by, I think, countries who had access to vaccines, reach herd immunity, and it's like next turning over to the next chapter.
Right. I mean, trying to reach herd immunity, say in Korea by late September or November, which was the initial deadline. I mean, it's good to have a goal and a timeline, but having only that in sight
is not enough.
Is a bit dangerous, yes, because, viruses like the flu, we have to live with it. And many experts are saying that's the same for COVID-19 as well.
So securing more supplies for potential booster shots and more to come in the future. Like, although the WHO doesn't necessarily support it for a whole different set of reasons, that's something that we have to also look into too.
Right. Not just booster shots as well, but there's a lot of opinions from experts saying vaccine rollouts has to be an annual thing, just like the flu vaccine. So. Yeah, I mean, we have to look long term, is what this UK expert is saying, I guess.
Thank you for managing our expectations. All right, on to our third keyword of the day.
Sewol probe.
In other news, a special counsel looking into allegations of evidence tampering in a previous probe on the Sewol ferry disaster has dropped the charges. So what's the latest on this story?
Yeah, so the team said it failed to find any evidence to support the claims of evidence tampering and has ruled out an indictment. Launched in May, the probe has looked into possible data manipulation of CCTV footage. It also looked into suspicions on the Navy and Coast Guard's retrieval of the digital video recorder and adequacy of the government's related response. Now, the council said the recorder retrieved on June 22nd, 2014 is the original device from the Sewol ferry. There have been allegations that it was actually switched. The council said that for someone to have sneaked into the vessel to take out the DVR without anyone noticing is highly unlikely, adding that it found no evidence to corroborate the claim. And now the council also rejected the claim that Chawade was engaged in criminal activities in connection with the botched rescue operation. So that concludes that investigation, I guess.
All right. For the time being, we'll leave it there. On to our fourth keyword of the day.
Not preferential treatment.
There have been mixed reactions over Samsung heir Lee Jae-young's parole. Critics are saying that he was given preferential treatment, and I guess that is unavoidable about parole in nature. What's the Justice Minister's response to those accusations, I suppose?
It's quite interesting, really, isn't it? I mean, if someone is convicted of a minor crime and they're released on parole, a lot of people will be a bit more understanding.
I think so too.
But the scale of it and the status that Lee Jae-young holds, of course, there's going to be a lot of mixed reactions, both for and against, from different areas of society. Now, the Justice Minister, Park Bum-gye, he has denied there was any preferential treatment. He said, quote, "We made the decision according to the conditions set for parole under the law." And he added that he cannot be an exception, basically saying he was considered and reviewed just like anyone else, much like your average Joe who was caught, I don't know, shoplifting or something. Now, although the law says that a prisoner is eligible for parole after completing 1/3 of a prison term, the ministry has been operating on an internal regulation that prisoners should serve more than 80% of their terms before parole. So they had actually a stricter rule in place just within the ministry. But last month, Park approved a major change in that regulation, allowing prisoners who serve more than 50% of their terms to become eligible. Park also said he was subject to employment restrictions as well, though he did previously say that the decision to release the tycoon was for the sake of the Korean economy.
And we talked about actually in the first hour how those two sentiments cannot coexist. Right? I mean, if public sentiment and also the fact that the sake of Korea's economy is something to address, if Lee Jae-yong does not wield any power back at Samsung, how can these things coexist?
I guess it's more of a symbolic kind of move.
It does seem that way.
He might not hold a title anymore for 5 years at least anyway.
Right.
But just the fact that he's out of jail kind of gives a big motivational boost, I guess, to the Samsung group.
I feel like that's just, works wonders on the stock market momentarily. Right, yeah. But beyond that, I guess I do have just questions about what this actually means.
Right. He won't be able to hold a title or a position, but he could, I don't know, advise, I guess, or still provide some insights.
That's a really gray area. However,
really
that's
gray area.
Where we stand.
But even if he did hold a position,
sure,
his status as vice chairman is a lot of this thing with Korean chaebols and conglomerates. All the people at the top, the positions are pretty much symbolic. I mean,
all right,
they're not really that deeply involved in the business decisions. I mean, the businesses run smoothly without them. I mean, Samsung
with a number of CEOs that
exactly
a conglomerate like Samsung would have.
Yeah, I mean they enjoyed record profits and revenues even while he was in prison. So it just goes to show how much of the decision making is made on the kind of the mid to top level, I guess. Now, Park also dismissed any speculation of him having consulted with President Moon Jae-in about the decision as well, saying it might be politically influenced from the top. He said that it was his decision, and his decision, he had the final decision, so it was completely up to him. So yeah, this whole issue is very complicated and divisive and very
and it will be divisive, right? But anyhow, so far the Justice Minister has denied absolutely zero grounds for preferential treatment for Lee Jae-yong. On to our fifth keyword of the day.
Delivery holiday.
So delivery workers in Korea will be taking this Saturday off, and the government has vowed to support a so-called parcel-free day. Do we need more than one? Tell us more about this day, though.
Yeah, so the government is looking to make such days off for delivery workers a regular thing. This comes amid a whole wave of strikes carried out by unionized delivery workers over working conditions and pay and whatnot. So the government is certainly heeding to those calls. Now, the day off or days off is currently a policy that has been set by the 4 major couriers at the moment. So it's not a government thing. And even the state-run post office will be taking part in the long weekend as well. Now, the Land Ministry says it will work to give support to delivery workers during the 3 days off. It is a Liberation Day holiday, but it did also urge them to not cause any inconveniences to customers who may have to wait for their parcels due to the holiday. So if you're waiting for any parcels, maybe sometime next week, they could be delayed, so do bear that in mind.
All right, on to our sixth keyword of the day.
New York governor resigns.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has resigned after an inquiry found that he sexually harassed multiple women. This is after he long has resisted to step down. So run us through the details.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise announcement as well, because he's pretty adamant and he was standing his ground. Now, the independent investigation by the New York Attorney General's office found that Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women, including state employees. Women alleged that he made sexual comments, inappropriately touched or groped them, and kissed them without consent. Now, Cuomo had been facing pressure, as you said, to resign from even fellow Democrats and President Joe Biden as well. Cuomo said he will eventually step aside, so he has caved into that pressure, but he still denied the sexual harassment claims. He denied that he touched He denied that he touched anyone inappropriately, but he acknowledged making some aides uncomfortable with comments he said he intended as playful, and he has apologized for some of his behavior. He kind of cited a kind of cultural difference, I think, kind of alluding to his Italian background. I don't know how that ties in, but but he did apologize if he made anyone uncomfortable.
But this is a big, I think, fall from grace for the now former New York governor.
Yeah, I mean, just last year, it was kind of held as a national hero
for handling the pandemic well.
Exactly, having a very hardline stance on the pandemic, and New York was very, very zero tolerance, or near zero tolerance anyway, when it came to the pandemic.
Because it was a hot spot at one particular point.
Exactly, it was. So he was hailed as a hero. His image now is closer to that of a villain, so a very drastic turn. So who will replace him? Kathy Hochul will, a fellow Democrat. She will serve the rest of his term when the resignation becomes effective in 14 days. So for the 2 weeks, he is still the governor.
All right.
Now, Hochul will become the state's first female governor as well. So some historic news there. Whether she will carry on will remain to be seen. But so... in New York, I think he's the third governor to resign or be removed or leave the post due to scandal. So, the state's not doing very well, is it?
Thank you very much, Arirang, for today's coverage. Have a safe day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.